Morning, 11th grade Roosevelt High School computer science students. Congratulations on finishing your interdisciplinary projects. I'm Xiang Ren. I'm an assistant professor at the computer science department at USC. Today, I want to spend a little bit of time to talk to you about artificial intelligence or AI and give you a sense about how AI is being applied in our daily life currently, especially for those social good applications, and also say a bit more about what I see the AI could be doing in the near future. So, just a little bit more about myself. I'm an assistant professor at the USC Computer Science Department. I did my PhD study at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, also in computer science. And then I spent some time at Stanford University working on more natural language processing research, which I'm going to talk briefly about. And before and after I joined USC, I actually spent also some time at Snapchat doing consulting on their data science operation. I teach and do research on natural language processing or NLP. And what is that? Let me try to talk to you about what is NLP through one examples that you might be familiar with, which is Siri. If you're using iPhone, you know that Siri can do a lot of things for you, like trying to call someone for you or send a message for you if you just speak about the message to your Siri. And what's behind the scene is actually a lot of things happening. For example, it needs to transform your voice into text. That's what we call speech recognition. You need to understand what exactly you are saying, trying to break it down into phrases and some actions they can execute. And that's what we call language analysis. And if you're asking a question, they need to search for the internet for the right answer to your question, and that's question answering process. And if you have multiple turns of conversations between you and the Siri, then there's a dialogue processing. And finally, Siri needs to transform whatever they produce from text to speech back to humans. Right. But a core technologies behind all of these components you see just now is what we call machine learning. And what essentially machine learning is trying to do is a process of using computer algorithms to mimicking what humans think in their on top of their head, right? If you are asking to look at an images and trying to tell what is the type of fruit it is, as a kid, you might, if you are the first time seeing some fruits like apple, you will be tell about, okay, this is apple, and these others are oranges, and so on and so forth, right? So you will see data, and you will see what we call human annotations telling you what type of things the data is. And you send both of these into what we call model, which is some mathematical functions, and hopefully the model can memorize a certain pattern about what is apple, and you can therefore apply these models to any other new images of different fruits, and hopefully the model can predict this is apple or an orange, right? Similarly, these same technologies has been used in natural language processing in processing our daily conversations and the written text that we have. One example of that is the sentiment classification, where you show the machines a bunch of review sentence, let's say from the Amazon product reviews, and examples of some maybe a negative sentiments and expressing low satisfaction about a product. And at the same time, you show them some positive examples like amazing, say to me a lot, more than happy to. This is what we call positive sentiments and expressing high satisfaction. So you show machines both examples, and hopefully you can learn a model that can tell in the future if you send it a different review or message or sentence, it will tell what is the sentiments for that message. Right. So these are all examples that are already been operationalized in our daily life and mostly for business. But I want to just talk to you more, a bit more about some social good applications, like how the AI can really make our life a better. Um, the one example I talk a lot is this online hate speech moderating. Probably some of you have already heard about it in my previous presentation. And what specifically the hate speech moderation is doing is trying to scan through these online social media posts and trying to tell if a certain sentence is expressing a particular abusive language towards certain social group. Like in here, there's some sentences telling very bad things towards Jews or towards Africans, for example. And right now, social media companies are all encountering such issues a lot because they have very little control on who is can post things and what things they can post until things are posted online, right? So you definitely cannot just rely on human to do this moderation because there's hundreds of billions of things producing every week on this media platform. So how can we do that with the help from machine learning or AI? Actually, most of the social media companies that you are familiar with, like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, they already are using a sort of AI technologies to do this automatically hate speech tagging or censoring. So what they do is similar to what you see in the sentiment classification example. They collect data of social media posts and trying to tag them as either hateful contents or non-hateful contents, and send these examples to train a model, and using or deploying that model online to try to tag more social media posts that are produced every day. And this is exactly what this company has been doing, but they definitely are not fully relying on these computer algorithms to figure out which users are suspicious or need to be um, 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 warned. They actually have another layer of human moderators trying to look at some very highly suspicious posts that are predicted by these algorithms and do this like a secondary check to facilitate the whole company. But anyway, this algorithm really reduce the number of posts those human annotators need to see on a daily basis. Well, that's about online social media platform. But if we look even a broader space, just look at the internet itself, a very yeah, important issues we encounter is this malicious spore, which is a sort of a malware that are designed to steal the information from users or trying to infect some computer servers to maybe steal more information. And these are often used by some cyber criminals. So again, um, we're seeing actually a rapidly growing number of companies, including like Datadom, BitNinja, Perimeters, and these two, and this Redware. They are all trying to use machine learning or AI technologies to automate the process of detecting malicious bot. And the process they are doing is also trying to find out example activities online that are representing malicious bot, and also trying to find some legitimate activities that they also observe from the real users that are totally safe and okay, and trying to learn a model to distinguish these two types of activities so that the model can tell from other future activities whether this is actually a malicious bot behind the scene or it's just a normal legitimate users. Right. So and that's about the internet moderation, especially on these bot activities. Um, but what about the informations that we are receiving every day from these online platforms, these internet news sources, right? There might be also inaccurate information or what we call misinformation that are given by these sources, right? As a human a moderator of the content, we might be looking at whether the articles is well written, it actually really looks like a human written text, or something that are kind of very fake and maybe grammatically incorrect. We'll also check the authors of the articles to see if the author is a legitimate user. We might be checking other things like the evidence that got talked about in the articles, whether the timestamps fit of the story makes sense to us. And all these things can be actually replicate or mimic by us computer algorithms uh, powered by AI. And again, we are very excited to see there are some companies already building such a system to try to detect fake news by applying natural language processing techniques to see if the articles is well written, by using computer vision techniques to see if the images is looking real, it's not like a fake images, by checking the informations mentioned in the news article to see if they are valid, and by checking the author of the news articles on the internet to see if they are legitimate. All of these things can be put together from different aspects and try finally inform if this is um, a fake news or not. And that's kind of the mechanisms behind these automatic fake news detection um, systems. Um, and also, we see actually people being operationalize this detection of suspicious behaviors in the financial sectors, like the Xiang and Data Vista. They've been doing this AI for fraud detections for a while, where they look at the users' behaviors on the bank, like the identity of the users, the amount of the transactions, the location of the transactions, and the frequency of the transaction. All this information has been put together, learn a model that trying to inform you how suspicious a specific transaction is, and use that to prevent frauds for different banking companies and agencies. Well, what about the future, right? So we've been all talking about some examples that we really see happening in our daily life right now, and it's been helping us a lot in terms of making a better society, a safer society, reducing the human cost into building things. But what about in the next 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, right? So, from my perspective, I'm really excited about the opportunities that have been left for AI to help healthcare and human health. For example, personalized medicine is a very important thing because the same drugs might work slightly different for different patients because of how the different patients have different types of gene mutations, and these drugs are actually having different effects with different types of mutation. So if we can use these AI technologies to automatically associate a specific DMA and mutation informations about a particular patient with the chemical compound of a drug and trying to find that correlation, hopefully we can find a better drug for each individual and trying to reduce the bad effects, like some side effects, like the slow kind of activations of the drug effects, things like that. In a very related thread, I was also very excited about how new drugs can be developed with the AI technologies to facilitate human in screening the chemicals, right? Right now, the most time consuming part of drug discovery is actually the clinical trial process asked by the FDA. And that process is so long because there's many failure cases happening throughout this process. And AI hopefully can help a better, more accurate targeting of the relationships between a certain symptoms and disease and a certain chemical compound so that we can narrow down our candidate space for searching different chemical compounds and therefore really shorten the time frame for this drug discovery process. And then I'm also care a lot about the transportation, especially as we live in LA. We know how bad the traffic could be in our week on our weekdays. So if we can really have these sensors on each of the car and also have this internet connecting different like signal lines and passengers and the surrounding buildings, then very likely we can use AI to optimize let's say the rotation of the signal lines and the navigations of individual cars and passengers, such that overall we can really reduce the chances of traffic congestions, for example, in a certain local region, and we can also hopefully avoid more traffic accidents we see on the road. On the other side, we are building more and more robots that are operationalized some parts of our daily lives. So I'm really hoping to see that these robots can become very massively deployed to replace some jobs where it just needs repeated operations in a very constrained setting. Like, for example, allocating packages, sorting packages, or guiding people to different sections of the grocery store, things like that. Um, we can hopefully use this robot, which can operate in a very accurate, in a very frequent kind of way, but without too much risk of making mistakes. Lastly, I hope that with these AI technologies, we can have a better, more like collective decisions about resource allocation, especially for those low resource communities, where we can pull together informations about individuals, the families, and also the informations about the local housing situations, the all the information about the house themselves, and use that to kind of help decision makers to decide how to prioritize these resources. Yeah. So all in all, I would hope that in the next decades, or 20 years, we will see that AI is not really trying to replace human in those different professions and different job positions, but more of like they are facilitating human in accomplishing tasks in a faster manner, in collecting information in a more comprehensive perspective, in like narrowing down their search space when they trying to come up candidates, um, and trying to reduce the chances of making subjective mistakes from humans. And together, I would hope that these AI technologies can just help we build a better society, and we can spend our time more with the important people in our daily life and spend more time on the most important part of our work. And that's my hope. And it's really nice to share these thoughts and progress the AI society has made so far. And I hope this is helpful for you. Really glad to talk to you about this today. Thank you, guys.